Welcome to Unfolding.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So we've known each other since we were kids, all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school. We were never super close, but, we were in each other's orbit. And then we drifted apart. We were on different paths, and we weren't really in touch for years. And after one of your lowest points recently, my content just kind of randomly stumbled onto your feed.
Yeah.
And you said that it kind of made you take a step back and think about your own life. And in your words, you said it was helping you get your act together. And that means so much to me, because that's exactly why I do this. That's exactly why I make content, is to inspire people. During this conversation, I only have one question prepared for you, and then the rest of this is just going to naturally unfold. In the world of graffiti, the art is the same, the can is the same, your hands are the same, but one version of you is a criminal and the other version of you is an artist. Where is that line for you, and what do you think changed within you?
A lot of the times when you're doing graffiti, you don't really think about, is this legal or is this not legal? Whatever art you had in your brain, whatever you had deep down, whatever you just needed to find a way to express yourself, you just do it. A lot of the times people aren't usually thinking about where the line of the law is and where it isn't. And obviously that has led me to not the best interactions with the law when I was younger. I remember when I was younger, I was probably arrested maybe 10 or 15 times for just different vandalism charges, stuff like that. I had to deal with a bunch of court proceedings. I ended up getting sued, actually. This was one of the hardest moments for me. I got sued for around 10,000 Canadian dollars for some damages I had done on a construction site, which I regret. And that moment back then where I got sued for the damages, that was kind of like the line of, we're not really just doing art anymore now. We've actually caused some problem in someone's life. And I apologized to the man who I did the damage about, and I've pretty much completely
You've shifted around.
reshifted kind of my idea about why I do graffiti and how I do graffiti. Now these days, I tend to just paint legal walls, like one of the walls we're situated in front of right now. This wall that we're in front of right now is UVic's free premium, anyone can paint here. There's no rules. If you go over someone, it doesn't really matter. And anyone can just come here and express themselves without any fear of the consequences. And that's a big thing for me, is I don't exactly love the consequences of my actions. No, I don't think anyone does. So when you have that area where you can just freely express yourself without worry about, is this against the law? Is this not? It's just it's amazing. It acts as a community space. You can see different pieces that come and go. You see who's been practicing, who's been not. And I just kind of love that aspect of bringing together graffiti where it's allowed and you're not going to get in trouble for it. I just like the idea of free expression.
I love the aesthetic too. I mean, my uncle owns Menu in Vancouver, the skate shop, and just the graffiti, the skateboards, it all ties in together in this sort of cross-culture, sort of counterculture style.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you were in that stage of getting wrapped up in the art and the expression of all of the graffiti, and you were sort of closed off to, I guess, the outside world in a way, where you didn't see the second order effects of your actions and how they affected people. What do you think was driving that need for expression? Do you think it was you seeking attention in some way?
I think a lot of it was probably attention seeking when I was younger, particularly. I did it originally being hey, look at me, I've done this art, even if no one else sees you during a day, so you can go for I remember when I was a kid I was bullied a lot when I was younger. The idea of being able to do something, no one can stop me, I'm just doing this for me at the end of the day. I really like that idea. I like the idea of just expressing yourself fully based on what you want to do. It wasn't I would just do graffiti and then just be oh, there's no point of doing it. There was a point for me of doing it. The point, I think, was a bit of attention seeking and a bit of also, I just generally like the idea of graffiti art. I love the style of art. I've always loved the act of using an aerosol can. Something about using an aerosol can when you're doing art, it's very relaxing, just the pressure, and you can kind of get used to using it as a tool. It almost becomes your own hand. You can kind of just you can get elements of can control very quickly the more you learn about it. And it just becomes a whole fun, like a whole fun game, the different sensory input, different stuff like that. And I kind of I found that when no one else would see me, I just know that I did that. Like that's there. Like I can say that I've done that. I've been there, done that. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the answer to the question. A bit of attention seeking, and then a bit of just like kind of like I don't really care. I'm just gonna do this art.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a way to build your autonomy in a
Yeah.
sense.
Building like my self identity a bit. Like I've always enjoyed graffiti. I've always enjoyed even just for like now these days I don't really paint too often. I'll mainly just paint pieces here and there at legal walls or do sketches in my room. But I've always just loved the idea of taking time out of your day, spending a couple hours on a canvas, relaxing, and just getting some expression done. And I've also found that at times, like, especially times where I've gone through difficult challenges in different periods of my life, I can always use graffiti as a tool, as like an escape almost. So if I'm like say I've had a worst day ever, it's been like something went bad at work or I wasn't having the best mood at school, I can always go home, do it on my own, and just kind of like lock in my own little world of drawing my characters, drawing my pieces. It was very relaxing at the end of the day, I think, too. It's why a main reason I did it. Yeah.
And do you see yourself doing like a mural at some point or some sort of bigger project?
Yeah. So what's really nice about it these days is now that I'm not doing illegal graffiti and now that I've kind of like opened my horizons more to different businesses and such, I've had a few commissions actually where I've gotten paid several $100s to paint a wall or to like, I don't know if anyone knows about Hallel, but there's a Jewish youth group called Hallel and they hired me to paint like a mural for them, which I thought was really fun. And that was kind of interesting because I am Jewish and just like in my community, I just thought that it was pretty cool that I was making an impact on future youth.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what do you think the biggest lesson came to you out of that hard time when I mean, 10 to 15 charges is quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it seems like that from someone who's never been on that side of the law before. To me, that seems like it seems crazy. I can't imagine being in that situation. Maybe I can imagine it, but just like it seems so far away.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, what's the biggest lesson that you came out of that period of your life with?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that you can do things, but you can still do things within the boundaries of the law. I've learned that especially the law is one area where you just don't want to mess with it. It will always come back to you. The law always catches up. The law always adjusts. I've always found that if you stick within the rules, and even if you break them a tiny bit, usually you will have more fun just following the rules at the end of the day. That's what I've learned. It's kind of like you just kind of do have to follow the rules, even as much as you're like, even if you're like a 12-year-old kid, you're like, oh, I hate the law, I hate this, I hate that. You end up getting to the point where you're like, these are necessary actions that we must have in life to have order and have peace. And at the end of the day, these institutions that I might have not appreciated as a child are there in place to protect us. It's kind of what I've learned a bit.
It's definitely something. It's a hard way to learn that lesson for sure.
It is a hard way. It's very heads on. Like dive right in.
Yeah, but do you think you're stronger because of it?
I do think so. I think that if someone who hasn't been in my shoes hasn't seen the things that I've seen, I feel like if I hadn't done the things that I've done, I don't think I'd be who I was today. I think that I'd probably have gone down a different path. But it's very nice to like reflect back on your past and see like those things, like as much as I don't like them, they made me me at the end of the day. Every single life experience, whether you regret it or not, they all build you into a certain person. You can either choose to go down the road of like, oh, I don't care about anything, I don't care about this or that, and just like completely like down the rabbit hole. Or you can kind of be like, you know what, I like this, I like aspects of this, but I'm going to take aspects of this that I like and aspects of it that I don't like and make it into my own art form, where you're kind of within the boundaries of what is socially acceptable.
Absolutely. And I think, we're the culmination of every choice we've ever made, right?
Yeah.
And I think people fall into this victim mentality easily when they go, oh, well, this thing happened to me and that thing happened to me. And, oh, I was born in like a bad place in the world, or, I was I wasn't born into wealth, or all these different things. Oh, just because of my skin color. Like there's many valid reasons as to the cards you've been dealt that can give you a more difficult start in life than other people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, yes, everything that's happened to you in your past may not be your fault. Some of it is your fault. Some of it is not your fault. It's hard to delineate which of those things are the case. But the fact of the matter is, everything that has led you up to where you are right now is still yours to deal with. So whether it's someone else's fault or not, you're the only one who can actually do anything about the future and where you go going forwards. So yeah, it might not be your fault, but it's kind of better for you to act like it is, because if you take responsibility for everything that's led you to where you are now, yes, it's super hard to sit with that. It's difficult to look at all of your past mistakes, face them head on, and be like, yeah, I did that. But it also gives you the power to know you can chart your own course. Maybe not entirely, but to a large degree, you chart your own course for the future. And I think a lot of people get stuck trying to avoid the mistakes they've made, or trying to avoid maybe negative patterns that once served them, but now are hindering them or holding them back in some way, or just numbing the pain of their own internal life and not realizing that numbing the pain numbs the joy as well. I think emotions are felt on a spectrum, and when you try and avoid the negative emotions and you try and feel bad about feeling bad, you're going to feel less good overall as well. And I think that's something people kind of forget, or maybe you don't even realize. What's your experience with numbing pain, and what has it taught you about just your own emotional experiences and texture of your mind?
I really like that question. I really like how you were mentioning like just taking responsibility and being like, yes, I did those things. I'm not exactly proud of those things, but just acknowledging that when you take responsibility, you're basically saying, I did that. I forgive myself. I can move on and have the best day that I can. And when you start every day being like, hey, I know I shouldn't have done that. I forgive myself. Let's make today the best day possible. You really just, it ends up being beautiful. Add to the part, and sorry, to answer your question of numbing pain, I did struggle for about like a couple years. As soon as I found out about like weed, like as soon as I got on weed, I kind of was like instantly hooked. I was like, damn, this is the solution to all of my problems. All of my problems are gone. I feel amazing. I feel happy, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
beautiful. I'd be like, damn, this is the piece of the puzzle that's been missing. Looking back on that, obviously now to this day, I don't think that was solving my problems. If anything, it was just delaying it to a later point. And then it all piles up to the point where you're like, oh shit, I do really have to like face the music and kind of
Yeah.
like talk about my problems and deal with them. Um, I found that like weed, as in graffiti, is also like an escape almost from your problems. It's a very much an escape activity. You kind of can forget about what you're doing, throw down some paper, throw down maybe smoke a joint, and just do some graffiti, and those things hand in hand go quite well until you realize that it's not a solution. It's just a delay. So I quit smoking weed, and I found more that when I sit with myself sober for even like an hour or two, I find that my thoughts can process lot smoother. I can really get out my ideas and kind of work with myself on what I need to work on. Maybe a flaw I have in my that I don't like that I want to work on, stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Where's the You mentioned like the escape of graffiti and the art of it and how that can be like a good thing. And at
Yeah.
the same time, you're mentioning like how the negative escape of weed can be a bad thing. Where's the difference between like a good escape and a bad escape, do you think?
I think a good escape, it lets you get out because when when you're dealing with graffiti, right? When you're doing like an art piece, you're almost putting a lot of what's on your brain into the piece. You might like make sharper lines if you're like a bit irritated, or you might use smoother lines if you're in like a really good mood. Just like little aspects of design like that. And I think that an aspect of like a good escape is something where you're not entirely damaging yourself. Like when you're smoking weed, it's not, I would not consider that a good escape, mainly because you are doing damage to your lungs, you are doing damage to your brain, especially like I'm under 25. My brain is not fully developed yet, and that's one of the main reasons I quit weed, was because my brain isn't fully developed, and I want to see my brain fully develop. Because
Fair enough.
I don't think that's a good idea to not have it fully developed. Um, but I think that a positive escape, something like an art that you can do, maybe it doesn't even have to be graffiti. Like pottery can be an escape for people. Painting just a canvas, just even like mosaic art, like tile art, just any sort of positive thing where you are creating something, just getting out and creating, exploring, seeing what your cranium can do. I just like, I like anything creative. I think that if it's the escape is creative, I think it's helpful. If it's something where it's negatively impacting your life, like smoking weed, I would say it's probably just temporary. Temporary.
Okay, interesting. So you would say like a creative escape is almost like a cathartic experience
Yeah.
where it can help you regulate your thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
And then a negative escape would be something that's like consumption,
Yeah.
where you're consuming weed, or, sometimes people slip into binge eating, or, consuming, there's all sorts of addictions that can fill that void, right? Whether it's porn or alcohol or whatever. It's easy to slip into those because the consumption gives you that dopamine hit. But the funny thing is, like, the creating also gives you a dopamine hit, just in a different way.
Another aspect I really like is, at the end of the day, is once you've put out all your emotions into whatever artwork you're working on, you have an artwork at the end. Like, you have a piece of art that you can display. You can be like, I was going through a challenging part of my life. I made this art. I don't know if you want to see it or not, but I think it's cool. But then if you're just saying like, oh, I'm just gonna go smoke weed, at the end of the day, what do you have? Like an empty roach and an empty wallet. Like, you're not really getting anything out of it. So I really like the idea of like a creative escape, because you do get something out of it. Like, I know there have been times in my life where, like, I remember one time I was going through like a really severe breakup, and I just like, I put all of my energy into writing different words on a piece of paper and then outlining them, and it all came together quite nicely. And I had this like cool artwork at the end, and I felt that if I had just gone out and smoked a bowl of weed, I wouldn't have done anything out of it. I just kind of like, I love that you actually do get something out of it. You get a piece of artwork that you can be like, this is mine. I made this.
Yeah, it's like crystallizing your experience into a little object of some kind, whether it's like some words, some lines, some colors, the shape of, like a sculpture or something. It's like taking the thoughts and emotions that are like all jumbled up in your head and sort of like pouring it out in some way into the world. Whereas when you numb the pain, you're just kind of like trying to shove it down deeper inside of you. But I know for me, anytime I try and do that, it's just going to come back up later. Like, it's not going to go away. You can't kill an emotion. That's a good one. I always say, like, you can't avoid emotions. They'll always come back. But killing is a little more vivid, that's for sure.
I also like the idea of that you can't kill a thought. I know a lot of people have to deal with like intrusive thoughts, and I know personally I have to deal with a lot of impulsive thoughts where I'm like, oh, should I go do this? Should I go do that? And I find that when you let yourself just like hear out the thought without interrupting it, being like, nah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. If you hear yourself fully through, a lot of the times the thought will just go away and you'll have less impulsive urges, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a big thing with me. I feel like if I was going to sit down and say I had like a huge craving to smoke weed, a lot of times what I'll do now is I'll sit with it for longer than 7 minutes. And by the time 7 minutes has gone up, I usually won't feel like I'm craving it anymore. And I'll usually find that I'll like go out and do some art instead, or maybe I'll code this project I've been working on. I'll just like put energy in towards something that's improving my life, not only, but kind of like getting me to where I want to be at the end of the day. I've been trying to like lately focus on like prioritizing healthier habits than the junk food options. Like, I remember you mentioned earlier, like porn, as I would say is like a junk food for the brain. It's like, it obviously exists out there, but it's not good for you at the end of the day. And it kind of like, I noticed like a lot of men, it diminishes what their idea of sex is, to especially younger men, and they get these different ideologies that aren't favorable.
Yeah. It's definitely like, if you think about how long humans have been around and how long we've had access to infinite amounts of insanely like sensationalized and graphic content of, like all this crazy stuff you can find online for like literally 2 clicks. And there's like basically no security behind it. There's no, not to mention all the horrible things that go on in the porn industry, but there's no like regulation around it, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about, okay, you think that has no negative effects on your mental well-being at all. You think that you can just interact with that stuff as much as you want and be like totally fine by it.
No.
That's an interesting assumption to make. For sure. I want to go back to, you mentioned that you had a pretty rough breakup and that you were using the weed to try and numb the pain.
Yeah.
When people are in those kind of relationships where it might not end in the best way, what do you think is the difference between when those moments make or break you?
When you're ever going through like any difficult time period of your life, you can either like choose to be like, well, this happened to me. I'm gonna try to make the best of the situation and bring myself forward. Or you can choose to try to, like, as you said earlier, like play the victim mindset. Like, this happened to me. I must be doing everything wrong. Why do things always happen like this to me? And you kind of just gotta like put yourself in the perspective of this happened. I'm gonna make the best out of it. I remember like, yeah, I was dating this girl for about maybe like 6 or 7 months. I thought I really liked her at the time. Like we hung out, we got along pretty well. But I found the problem was I had based the relationship off purely just smoking weed with her. Like pretty much all we would do was we'd throw on an episode of South Park, we'd watch like smoke a bowl, and then we would go like just watch TV all day. And I got to the point where I had to break up with her. I was just like, I'm not doing anything with my life. I'm staying here at home all day. I barely leave my house now. I kind of isolated myself from a lot of my friends because I was just more focused on smoking weed, which is not something that I recommend you doing. Anyone does. Just like it got into the point where I was just like, this isn't helping me. And I don't know if this is what I needed to do, but I remember I had like got into a bus stop and I just smashed my bong. I like smashed it, like a $150 piece that like someone had given me, but I was just like, I don't want any sort of way that this is going to be easily accessible to me in my life, and I smashed it. And I kind of I haven't really had the urge to go back to it since, which is nice. But like that kind of monumental like crack, like it's all gone. It really just set off something in my brain to be like, we're gonna focus on self-improvement and just focus on being the best person I can be, not only for myself, but just for the world. Because the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Like I'm sure you of all people know that. But just like if you can be that smile on someone's face when they don't get to see any other smile, or you can be kind to someone who maybe you hold the door open for someone, like and no one else held the door open for them today. Just like small little things that contribute to making the world a better place. I love that. I love the idea of paying it forward. I love the idea of karma. I love all those concepts.
Yeah, you never know what someone's going through.
Yeah, you never know what someone's going through, and I think that's always beautiful in a way.
I think that's breaking the bong's an interesting.
Yeah,
That's an interesting symbol and like an idea to hold in your mind of sort of just the breaking point where it's, you could think of a similar analogy for like other addictions people have, whether it's like, someone has a porn addiction, they're like, they throw their laptop across the room or something, or someone's addicted to alcohol and they just pour everything they have in the house down the drain.
Yeah.
Or they're addicted to binge eating and they just give away all their junk food and they just buy a bunch of produce. I mean, that one's food's a tricky one because I think junk food can exist in a healthy diet and like a healthy diet and lifestyle.
Don't get me wrong.
It's just like it's a balance for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess, for some people, it might be too difficult for them to have that sort of stuff in the house. And that's another thing is like knowing where your limits are in terms of triggers for that addiction. Like if you're someone who's like extremely addictive and just knowing yourself and be like, okay, I know if I even have alcohol in the house, I'm going to drink it. Or I know if I even have weed in the house, I'm going to consume it.
Yeah.
Or I know if I even have, like Doritos and ice cream in the house, I'm going to just munch that shit up. But I think taking a step back and giving yourself the time to really notice those things within yourself. And I like the idea of the mindfulness gap. So, there's meditation, there's journaling, there's all these different mindfulness things. As you sort of do different mindfulness practices for a longer period of time, I think you sort of develop this, at least I've noticed this for myself, you develop this sort of gap between you and your own thoughts where like they come up and then you sort of immediately step back slightly and go, huh, what's that doing there? And then sometimes, it's a useful thought and you're like, okay, it's an idea or something and you do something with it. And sometimes you're like, huh, oh, there's that thing again. It's like that old insecure pattern from when, I was bullied in middle school or something. And it's just like cropping its head up again in some different way.
Yeah.
And I think mindfulness is a really important aspect of all of this, and especially in self-improvement. People glorify it through meditation and it's like, oh, you need to go to like a forest and go, and all this stuff. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
I mean, the
Mindfulness
way
can
we're doing
be,
that right now.
yeah, it's pretty peaceful out here.
It's quite peaceful.
Mindfulness can be just going on a walk
Yeah.
without headphones and not listening to music. Mindfulness can literally just be sitting and reading a book.
I really like that idea of like forcing yourself to be with your own thoughts. A lot of time what I'll do now is whenever I'm going on a bus, I won't wear any headphones. I won't even open my phone. I'll just go on the bus. I'll listen to what conversations people are having and I'll just be like, yeah, wow, like it's very peaceful.
Life is good.
Life is good. Like I love my life and it's beautiful and amazing and just like it really like small little moments like that in life where you just like pause for a second, you look around and you realize like, wow. Just it's quite surreal.
I did that for a while too. And I still do, like, I rarely wear headphones anymore, except when I'm like really, I'm going to do chores. I'm going to focus on this one thing and whatever. But yeah, like at the gym or when I'm just walking somewhere, it's just me and my thoughts. Cause it's like, that's the time, as life gets busier and busier, you get less and less moments to slow down with yourself and really grasping onto those. Like, I don't know where I heard this quote, but there's this quote of, there's never a minute wasted meditating. There's never a minute wasted going to the gym. There's never a minute wasted sleeping. There's never a minute wasted eating good food. Like, there's just some of these things that we think, oh, this is going to take X amount of time or whatever. And it's like, I want to be doing other things. I want to be like productive and whatever. Being deliberately unproductive can be the most productive thing that you need sometimes.
Yeah.
Just sitting and enjoying your food and not like scrolling Instagram while you eat, or not even reading a book while you eat, like literally just sitting there and just like take the bite into your mouth and just be like, oh yeah, this is good. Or like, just sitting there with your coffee in the morning and just like taking a deep sip and being like, feeling the warmth and just being like, that's nice. And you look out and like the world is just starting to wake up, like just basking even in that moment for like 5 seconds. Those moments just slip away more and more, I feel like. And it's easy to just get stuck in the trap of, oh, I need to go to school and I need to get my job and I need to do all these things and I need to do this and I need to do that. And I need to be my most productive, my best self. And it's hard to miss all those little times where the little moments that seem like nothing but end up adding up to be some of the most peaceful times of your life as you stack them up looking back.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of like this, I don't know if you've heard of the saying, like, you never know you're living in a memory until it's over. Like, thinking about all the times where you just, like, have time to yourself to reflect, and it's, as you mentioned earlier, like, we don't get much time to ourselves these days. Life is quite busy, life is full of schedules, quite full of routine, and giving yourself those little breaks of time where you do get to reflect can be so helpful. I also like the idea of kind of spending less time on my phone. Like, I remember for a few years, I actually didn't have a phone at all. I just went completely cell phone, not cell phone, sorry, like flip phone. Like, I had one of those like flip phones that you basically like barely access the internet on it. If I really wanted to send a text, it would take me like 15 clicks. It was just like the bare minimum that I had. And I found that times like that where I disconnect from the kind of instant gratification of what is Instagram Reels, what is just getting a text or even a notification from like a friend, like that instant dopamine hit. I found that when I kind of cut a lot of those aspects out of my life, I was able to slow down more and kind of just live more in the moment almost. Instead of prioritizing like what am I going to do next? Like what's after this? Just like more slowing my thought process down and living in the moment.
I think that's definitely important, but it's also tricky to balance that with like, even if a friend texts you and you're saying like, oh, it's distracting, it's the dopamine hit. Like I totally get what you're saying, but like that can easily slip into like isolation, right?
It did
Because
slip into
technology
isolation.
does
Yeah.
connect us a lot.
Yeah. I did notice that. Is that when I did go on my little like disconnect phase, I deleted Instagram for a bit. I lost touch with people that I wish I had still continued friendships with and stuff like that. So it did have its negatives. I will say that. Like definitely like it did have like a little bit of an isolating effect. But
Yeah, it's tricky.
I guess everything like that kind of like has its positive and its negatives.
Yeah, like with everything, like there's a way you can use it. Like you can use social media in a way where it's bad.
Yeah.
You can use social media in a way where it's positive and it connects you to all sorts of people and you're sharing valuable lessons and knowledge with the world. And even like texting can seem really bland because, you know, there's no
tone.
There's no tone behind it. Something I do a lot more is just send voice memos.
I like voice notes. Yeah.
Yeah, they're super easy. They take way less time than typing it out. And people can hear like the actual energy behind your
And
voice.
still, you should appreciate them a lot more because
No one sends them, so they appreciate them a lot. I love sending voice memos. It's like the best life hack ever. It's just like instead of a text, just send a quick voice memo, and someone like you'll be surprised like how much people love it. It's also just very high efficiency as well. So if you have to like get a lot of information to someone, you just voice memo
also
it.
looks so much better than just sending
A massive
huge
text,
paragraph. When no one wants to be on the receiving end of a long paragraph. But
Yeah,
voice
like
notes just
would
so
you
easy.
rather receive like a wall of text or a 2-minute voice note?
2-minute voice note.
Yeah,
2-minute voice
exactly.
note, all day, every day.
Yeah. So voice notes are like super underleveraged.
And
I
there's
love
also,
voice
like
notes.
small things you can do that aren't going like the full length of like disconnecting digitally. Like I found that when you put a grayscale filter on your phone, it's way less addictive on Instagram, just without all the flashing colors. Just like scrolling through reels just becomes almost like a bit mundane when you're on the grayscale mode. It just kind of like
Yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't tried it though.
yeah. I
Um,
thought it's really helpful, honestly, personally.
I might set that up for like this is funny, but like when I post videos, I usually get stuck into scrolling because I have to wait for the video to upload, and then I'm just in the app waiting for it to upload. I'm like, oh, well, what else am I gonna do? And I start scrolling, and then the next thing I know, it's been half an hour and the video is already done uploading.
I know it's so hard to lose track of time because when you think about it, each of those videos is what, like 40 to 60 seconds long. If you watch 15 of those, that's 15 minutes. And it just kind of like when you're scrolling in the app, it does not feel like that much time has passed. I think also a big problem of mine is time dilation. I think especially with ADHD, people who have ADHD struggle with just like recognizing how much time has passed or even realizing like, oh shoot, it's 2 p.m. I thought it was like 9 a.m. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Kinda
mean, like you can really zone in on stuff, and that can be like a really good thing. Like if you're
like hyper focus.
Yeah, if you're hyper focused on like a piece of art and you're just like so in the moment that you're just completely locked in on it,
Yeah.
and you're just like in flow state, that's like that positive escape you were talking about, right? Like that's that creative escape where it's like you're just fully inside the artwork.
You're in your zone.
You're just
like
in
locked
the zone completely, and that's when like it just flows so well. Compared to the sort of time dilation where it's like you look back across the day and you were slothing around and you were just watching YouTube or maybe smoking weed or something the whole day, and you just like you look at the time and you're like, where did the day go?
Like, what did I even accomplish
I did
today?
nothing. I feel like I just woke up and all I've done is like eat, poop, and watch YouTube. Like
That's why I really like. Okay, so recently my mom for my birthday last year, she gave me these ADHD Central cards. They like look like almost like a ticket you would get to go on a railroad or something like that. And I love how they have different times for like you can put like it's 12 p.m. I need to eat lunch. 3 p.m. I have this appointment. 7 p.m. I have this. And it also has an area for you to doodle and just like an amazing system to keep on track. But I find when you take your time, you start your day every day, you write your to-do list, you write what you want to accomplish, and you write your goal. When you look back at the end of the day and you're like, wow, even these small things like doing the dishes, making my bed, I love to start every single day by making my bed because it's the smallest thing. But you know that even if the entire day went so poorly, at least your bed is made and you have a comfy bed to fall asleep in.
it's an easy win.
It's an easy win. That's the easiest thing you can do to start your day, and it takes no longer than a minute. And
Yeah.
just small, it's really like the name of your podcast, like Kaizen Unfolding, small incremental improvements to improve your daily life. I really love the name of that because like even small things you do have monumental impacts later down the road.
Every monumental, massive shift is made of small, little, tiny decisions that stack up across your day. Your day isn't made of like big, swooping, grand gestures where you're like, oh, I just like completely reorganized my whole life in an hour, and then I did this thing and then that thing. It's like, no, it's like tiny little moments of like, oh, I worked on this thing for a bit, and then I saw my phone and I decided, am I going to scroll right now or I'm going to go back to work?
Yeah.
And then I put my phone aside across the room and then I went back to work. And then I saw, it's a bunch of small little decisions. I was hungry. So I went downstairs and I was like, chocolate bar, apple, protein bar. And you pick one.
Yeah.
Like it's all these tiny little decisions. And in each moment, it seems like nothing. And you're like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll just have this. I'll just do that. Scrolling for 5 minutes isn't going to hurt me. But then you realize like all those little things add up. Like it's easy to think, even when you sit down to work or you sit down to do something and you're like, okay, I'm going to work. And you 3 hours go by and you're like, that was great. I was productive. I did 3 hours of this thing that I wanted to do. And then you like think back on like, okay, how long was I actually working? Well, I kind of scrolled for a bit here, then I went to the washroom halfway through, and then I went to get a snack, and it's like, oh, I only really worked for like an hour out of the 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's easy to just like have that time slip away from you. I know this is something Alex Ramosi talks about a lot, is like time on task, and he gets kind of like meticulous about it. He's like, I set up a timer on my desk, and I press start when I start working, and as soon as I get distracted, I press stop. And then if I'm distracted, I pull my attention, if it's a thing I have to do, I'll do that for like a couple seconds. I go back to the work, I press start again. And that conditions you to sort of realize how much time you're actually putting into the thing you think you're putting time into.
Mhm.
Because it's easy to think, oh, I'm being productive. I'm working hard. I'm putting so many X hours into my work, but you're not using your time very well. And time is all we have. Like people waste so much time to try and save money. They waste time to try and avoid their emotions. People waste time. It's like the first thing they go to when they're making a decision of what to sacrifice. They're like, oh, I'll spend a little extra time to do that. It's like, that's your only resource, dude. Like, what do you mean you're wasting your time to do that? It makes way more sense to spend money to save time as often as you can, as long as you can afford it. You don't want to send yourself into bankruptcy. But when, what we do with the time that we have is literally what consists of our entire lives. And it's crazy to step back and think about that sometimes, because people just get so caught up in everything and they get so lost in the humdrum and the busyness that it's like they're just like blocked out to the world or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
No, I completely get that. I feel like everyone, kind of going back to what you said earlier about how like addictive Instagram was. I remember this is kind of funny. I remember I was trying to go to bed maybe like a week or two ago, and I was like kind of like almost like to the point where I was falling asleep, but I wasn't. And I dreamt that I was scrolling Instagram reels, and when I dreamt that I was scrolling Instagram reels, I was like, this is horrible. Like my subconscious mind is trying to scroll Instagram reels. So I was like, we gotta take a complete stop. Like I was like, I'm gonna cut out Instagram reels in my life, because I was just like, there's no way that should be happening. Like I was just imagining scrolling them one by one, and I was just like, no.
Yeah, that's bad.
That was bad. That kind of just shows how like deeply engraved. Like I just think it's just an instant dopamine hit is what it really is. It almost acts like a drug. It almost acts as if it is just something that you can get easily addicted to. And like even you see like these days, like younger and younger kids having access to iPads, having access to this. I remember when I was a kid, like my mom would get so mad at me for wanting to play Angry Birds for longer than 20 minutes. Like now these days, kids just get like an iPad, they throw in some YouTube AI sloth, and then they're just like enjoy that. They're like, I could not imagine what it would be to like grow up these days just having like constant more screen time than we had. And I thought we grew up with like an age of technology where we were like constantly pushed in front of a television or pushed in front of a computer. Just it would be like I couldn't even imagine that, like what these kids are probably having to deal with. Like,
They're gonna be so brain rotted.
They're gonna be extremely brain rotted. And I thought our generation was bad, but
Yeah.
now looking forward, I'm like, yeah, we're not that bad.
Okay, there's an interesting piece from earlier that I wanted to tie back to. We were talking about the good escape versus the bad escape,
Yeah.
creative escape versus the consumption escape. And I feel like you said something about, it's like we have that choice in the moment. When you're in those dark times, or when you're in that sort of avoidant state where you're avoiding something negative and you don't want to lean into it because obviously you don't want to, right? It feels bad. What do you think is something that's helped you to sort of turn towards the light when you're in those dark times?
I would probably say faith, honestly. Like I am pretty religious to the point, like, not extremely religious, but like I would consider myself a religious person. I go to synagogue when I'm like in a state where I'm like probably best, that I want to like have a community aspect and just have someone to lean on. I think a big part of it with that me is like I love the community aspect of Judaism. It acts as like you can very much depend on people in the community for advice, for someone to talk to, just a shoulder to lean on, and I think it's very comforting thinking about there's probably a bigger reason why we're all all here, and just like I find that when I'm struggling a lot, I think I tend to go towards more spiritual kind of ideal, like, sayings. Like I have like a prayer ring that I wear, and I'll like repeat the prayer in my head just to like calm myself down sometimes. If I'm like really stressed, or like really like don't know what to do, I'll be like, I know at the end of the day, like, this will all sort itself out. I'll figure it out. I've got faith in myself, and I got faith in God that this will all work together. And things tend to, even when you don't see it in the moment, things often tend to fall into the right pieces eventually. Like everything will come together, even if it doesn't look like it in the moment. Just know that it will come together. I think it's like just knowing that you've been through, a big saying I like to do is that you've been through probably like 90% of your worst days already, when you think about it in life. Um, if you've been through these worst days and you've been able to get through it completely fine, just think that anything harder, it doesn't really faze me at this point. I'm like, I'd be able to know that if I've already had this happen to me, this won't make a big difference. If that makes sense, kind of. I don't know if I used
Yeah.
proper descriptive words for that. It kind of got
No, I totally get what
my
you're saying.
idea across well.
Like, look at everything I've been through now. This is nothing compared to that.
Yeah, kind of like I've been through harder.
Yeah.
Like I feel like once you've been like arrested for graffiti, you kind of just kind of like you don't
Yeah.
really, like, nothing's worse than being arrested.
Yeah, like the worst thing you've ever been through is the worst thing you've ever been through. Like, if the worst thing that's ever happened to you and you've had a cushy life is like someone misspelling your name on a Starbucks cup, then yeah, like the tiniest grievance is going to set you off. But yeah, if you've been arrested, like a lot of things are just going to be like, whatever, dude.
It's kind of taught me to take the L on a lot of things. It's sort of like a lot of the times, like, other people would probably get like really upset and be like, "No, like that person should not have done that. Like I need to go like deal with it." I'm like, it's not worth my time. Like I'm chilling, bro. Like I remember, like I had this one instance where I trusted this guy, worked with him for a long time. We were flipping iPhones together. He ended up robbing me for about like $12,000. And that like kind of like set me off into this, like, I had to move out of my apartment. I had to like move back in with my mom just while I had like kind of like gotten more like just more processed what had really happened, right? And when you think about things like that happening to you, you're like, I've literally had like rock bottom happen. And I'm still here. I'm still kicking it, still put a smile on my face every day. At the end of the day, like, your experiences don't have to lead you into a negative mindset. You can kind of take everything that's happened to you, negative or positive, and be like, you know what, that person probably weren't in the best headspace. I know I've talked to him personally, like he has some mental health issues, stuff like that. So I didn't really blame him for that. I kind of more took it as like an L and was like, he shouldn't have done that. I know that like it affected me, and it probably almost, I took it as a blessing almost, because it kind of like set off this kind of like tumbleweed of different ideas I had about what I wanted to do. And it kind of just set me off, I think, on a better path than I was before, which sounds interesting. Um, I think if I hadn't had that happen where I would have, I don't know, I wouldn't, I'm not sure if I would be the same person today. But yeah, like even like things that are negative, I find that there's always a positive thing you can take out of it.
Absolutely. When you have this belief in your faith and in God and the surrender and like just believing that things will work out, how do you think the choice of what you do in the moment sort of interplays with that? Like, how do you think your agency works with destiny or fate, if you want to call it that?
Oh, interesting. Okay. This kind of reminds me of who is that woman that won a bunch of lottery, you know what I'm talking about? She like entered like
I
so many
think
contests and
bunch
like
of
she
lottery
like
tickets.
the law of attraction or something she was talking about. No, it wasn't even called that. Something else, but like kind of just like when you put when you visualize what you want to do, what you see like what you want to accomplish, and you see like you kind of have to like put yourself up, how am I gonna get to there? Like what steps do I need to make? What do I have to take to get to there? Or even like what steps should I not take if I want to end up there? For example, if you're like I want to get a new career and I want to get this really like high paying job, you shouldn't be like I'm gonna go immediately fly across to over there and forget about this, right? You shouldn't do like the complete opposite of what you want to do. I didn't really explain that too well. I was kind of getting at like visualize where you don't want to be and do everything you can to not get there. If that kind of makes sense. Like
Dude, this
you
ties in exactly to. So, do you know Dan Coe?
yeah.
Yeah, self improvement guy, philosopher, does a lot of like writing, does a lot of AI stuff as well. But his idea of the anti-vision is like exactly what you're talking about. And I've talked about it before. And it was one of the things that helped me get out of that first sort of stage of self improvement, I guess. You know, there's different levels. And the anti-vision is like, it's hard to know what you actually want. It's hard to like visualize a dream life for yourself in good detail. It's hard to look at where you could be in the future and all the different paths that are available to you and know like, oh yeah, that's the one that I want to do for sure. And I'm always going to want that one. Like, yeah, you're probably going to change your mind at some point. But an anti-vision, that's pretty easy to visualize and
Yeah.
pretty easy to create a vision of. It's like, okay, what is my absolute worst case scenario? What is like the worst day I would never want to live? And just like repeat that over and over again. What decisions would lead me to that point? And then just like, don't do any of those. Don't do that thing. Don't do that thing. Don't do that thing. Because that's what's going to lead me towards this anti-vision. And yeah, I might not be going towards my perfect life exactly, but I know if I'm at least pointed away from my anti-vision, I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah. I really like that actually. I think I might have heard that video or maybe it was you or Dan Coe, but I really like the idea of an anti-vision and how you just like I don't want to end up like say living in my mom's house my entire life. So if I know that if I put like small steps towards this or that, that won't happen. And just like those type of things give me a lot of peace almost. Just kind of like knowing that small steps I am taking are bettering my life and are getting me further away from the place I don't want to be.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot more manageable as well. It's
It
like
is more manageable,
I
yeah.
don't have to do everything all at
It
once. I
feels like
can
it's more in
just
my control.
take this little bite-sized piece and work towards, even in some small amount, something that I want out of life. I think the anti-vision is great. There's just one problem I have with it, which
What is it?
is you can easily slip into sort of drawing from insufficiency
Yeah.
and using the motivation of like, this is the life I don't want and sort of running away from that. And I think that sort of insufficiency fuel is very potent. Um, it does work. I used it for a while, especially like going to the gym. I was out of shape. I wanted to go to the gym to be in better shape. And that was a great source of motivation for me to get into the gym. So was it positive at the time? Yes, but you can't use it forever is the problem. It's unsustainable. And fueling from that insufficiency of running away from something instead of running towards something, you're just going to burn out at some point.
Where do you think is like a better place to fuel from?
An aspirational fuel. So a fuel of the way I sort of think of it is like wanting things without needing them.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I want maybe a certain physique, or I want to get to a point where I feel super healthy and capable, but I know that like I don't need it to feel enough as I am right now.
Yeah.
Or, any sort of desire you have, it's totally fine to want things. I don't think the goal is to not want anything. That seems like kind of impossible.
I feel like
But-
even monks don't have that kind of
Yeah.
spirituality.
But maybe unless you're completely enlightened,
Yeah.
if it exists.
If it exists.
But the difference between wanting and needing, like you can want things without needing them. You can want a nice car and still know that having the nice car isn't going to make you feel better about yourself. So
It's like that midlife crisis is still gonna hit 40 years later.
Exactly. So it's a balance of like, it's tricky because I don't know exactly how I got into it. I know there's a lot of things that nudged me towards it, but like right now where I'm currently at, like I go to the gym because I love going to the gym and because it makes me feel better, and I know it's working towards a point where, I'm going to be healthy and capable long into my adulthood and old age and stuff. But I did source some insecurity for a while, and I'm not entirely certain of how I switched into this state. I know there were certain things that sort of nudged me towards it, but it's not like I don't think I can find like one key thing that was like, oh, that was the thing that just totally shifted my headspace on everything. I do think an element of faith was a part of it, surrendering to some sort of higher power. And
I remember like you used to be like quite an atheist from what I remember.
Yeah. Surrendering to some sort of higher power where it's like I don't have to be in control of everything all the time.
Yeah.
I can trust in the fact that things will work out.
In a way,
And
it's kind of peaceful though. Like
it
just thinking
is.
about that, just like
But it's not like entirely out of my control either. I get
Yeah.
to take hold of the wheel a little bit.
You're
It's
in the
not like
driver's
a yeah. I think it's like a push and pull. Like going back to this agency and destiny fate type of thing. I think people ask, oh, do we have free will or blah, blah, blah. Does destiny and fate exist? I think like it might be confusing, but I think the answer is yes to both. Like we have free will, but there's also sort of a path laid out for us. So it's like, do we have complete control over everything in our lives? No, I don't think so. But also, do we have no control?
No.
That seems wrong as well. So it's kind of like this tension that we live in. And I think that's more fun anyways, because if you had to control everything in your life, you'd be stressed the hell out. You'd like, that would be horrible. And if you weren't in control of anything, then yeah, like everything would be dull and boring.
It'd be feel so pointless. Just be like,
you'd never learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
You'd never feel the gratification of doing something that you chose to do that ended up working out well. So nothing would mean anything if you had no control. But I think living in that tension of like some of it's not up to me and some of it is more peaceful, but it also gives you more power to work within of like, hey, this is my play space and I get to play around in it.
Yeah.
There was something with, numbing the pain. I wanted to connect with you. You said, weed was one of those things where you found it and you loved it.
Yeah.
And you said how like it was easy just to numb things away because it feels good in the moment. And with your relationship, like you sort of without realizing like built the foundation of your connection off of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really difficult because when you make that choice, you have that breaking of the bong moment.
Yeah.
That breaking point where you realize like this isn't serving me anymore. To the other people in your life who are still in that place where they're numbing things with, whether it's weed or alcohol or whatever, they're numbing something with some sort of consumption. That's really difficult for them. I know for me, like, I don't get anything out of alcohol, so I don't drink.
Yeah.
And when I hang out with friends that drink, it's very uncomfortable for them. They find it weird and they might question it a bit. Usually people are fine with it. It's more common, I think, nowadays, but there's still like an element of almost unease to it because they sort of feel guilty or they feel like bad for drinking. And I try to reassure them, like, I don't judge you for whatever you're doing. I just think the main thing with drinking, especially, or I think with a lot of consumption, is like, how are you using the consumption in your life? Are you drinking to celebrate? Or are you drinking to numb the pain of something?
Yeah.
Are you, smoking weed to get in a creative flow state? Or are you smoking weed because you're bored and you have nothing else better to do and you just want to slam a bag of Cheetos? And the thing with that is like, it's still a slippery slope because you can convince yourself that you're drinking to celebrate when really you're actually doing both and you're numbing the pain and celebrating at the same time. So I think that that difference in consumption is interesting. What do you think about that?
I
What are your
think
thoughts?
that a lot of times with weed, people weed kind of just exaggerates where you are at life, or kind of like it kind of like if you're, say, pretty depressed, you're smoking weed to like numb your problems. The weed's gonna basically just like do what you want. It's gonna numb your problems. It's gonna do that. But if you're, say, someone like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg, let's give an example like Snoop Dogg. He smokes every single day. He smokes to someone, he's someone that would probably like, it adds something to his life where it makes him more creative, it makes him this or that. But it
Maybe.
adds to his, maybe. I have no idea. I'm not Snoop Dogg. I can't speak for him. But like, I think for certain people, weed can be helpful for them. And for others, it can end up being a curse. It's like a blessing and a curse in a way. You can use it to celebrate your achievements. Be like, I just got this new job. I'm like so excited. I'm gonna smoke a blunt and I'm like gonna celebrate getting my new job or something like that. But then when it gets to the point where you're doing it every day, you can't really celebrate every day. You're not. There's nothing to celebrate. Maybe there is. I guess there always is something to celebrate. But like, you're not. It's not. It removes that act kind of being like a special treat almost as a reward. It becomes almost expected. Like your body expects. Like, okay, we're gonna smoke weed today, so like I'll be chill. I'll be, like whatever. You know that you're gonna do that. And I think that kind of like when you take yourself out of that loop of like doing the same thing over and over again, you kind of like it, you kind of almost get shocked. You're like abruptly kind of thrown into a state of panic, right? But you don't need to panic. You can kind of just pause for a second and I don't know, think things through more clearly. If that I'm not sure if I entirely got out my thought there properly, but did you kind of get what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I think it's like the intention behind it.
Yeah, it's like the intention. Like if your intention of smoking weed is to numb your problems, probably not the best for you. If your intention of smoking weed is to celebrate, go be it. Like,
Do you also think there's a slippery slope with that?
yes, I think that for me it was a slippery slope. I think I started off as like doing it for fun, and then it kind of led to like, it spirals, right? I did it like I would to the point where I would smoke in the morning as soon as I got up, and then I would find that I wouldn't have any thoughts. And found this actually really uncomfortable. I'd find it like I would have no thoughts for like while I was like smoking as soon as I got up, and it would be like so unsettling to not have any thoughts. It was
That's
just
really
like
weird, yeah.
yeah, I didn't like it. It ended up like I don't know. It kind of messed me up a bit. I just found that it wasn't helping me in any way.
So there was that breaking point where you broke the bong and then you sort of made the switch to it was it was like a catalyst point where you realized that weed wasn't serving you, but also like that relationship wasn't serving you.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a version of you that would have stayed in that? And like, what do you think helped you avoid getting stuck there?
I think if I hadn't got robbed, because that was kind of what also set off me breaking up with my ex.
Was
Like
that around the same time?
it was around the same time. Like I got robbed for about like all the money and all the iPhones that I had. Um, and then I came home. I kind of immediately was like, I'm breaking up with my girlfriend. I immediately broke up with her. Uh, and then I think like immediately almost after that, like I kind of stopped smoking weed. It was like after like the day after I got robbed, pretty much. Like I just kind of sat down with myself. I was like, what am I doing? Like this path, if I continue to stay with my ex, continue to stay like at a certain place in life where I am, I'm not I'm not proud of myself. I'm not like I'm not feeling like I've actually done anything worth mentioning to people. I've kind of just like I lost that sense of achievement, and I felt like life wasn't that fun anymore. And I felt like I had put all my effort into, oh, weed is fun. Like weed is like my act of having fun. That's what I'm gonna do now whenever I want to have fun. I'm gonna smoke some weed. And when you get to that point, it becomes hard. If I remember for the first like couple weeks after, it was hard for me to like kind of enjoy what I was doing without weed. I had become so accustomed to smoking for fun that having fun naturally just didn't come for, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after I had stopped smoking, which was interesting.
So that was,
It's like artificial almost. It kind of reminds me of like how you mentioned earlier, you're talking about junk food. I feel
yeah.
like weed is almost like artificial dopamine. It, especially as someone like me whose brain already lacks dopamine and needs more of it. So like, I feel like it just was like, I kind of felt like it was the missing piece when it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was rock bottom for you then.
probably. Yeah, I don't think I've gotten any lower than that. I didn't know what to do, honestly. I'd like saved up all this money that I was supposed to pay for my apartment that I was living at. And after having like no, basically, I was kind of foolish on my part to just pull out cash. Like I should not have had cash in my wallet, especially all of my rent money in my wallet. That was quite foolish on my part, but I just thought that it was more secure in my hands to know that I always had it with me and no one was gonna take it if I left it somewhere else. Like no, like that did mess with me a bit, I'd say. Like having that kind of like having everything pulled out underneath your feet kind of set me into like a very like a very depressing period of my life. I would consider that rock bottom. Yeah. I was very depressed.
Do you think it was necessary for setting you on a different path?
I think so, yeah. I think if those events hadn't unfolded the way they would, I probably would have still been dating my ex. I probably would have still been living at the apartment and just not doing much with my life. I I felt like I was almost like it wasn't that I was satisfied, but like I'd felt like I was just like I was doing enough every day to kind of justify the lack of insight I had. I don't know. I didn't really have any insight to what I was doing back then. I was kind of like stuck in a loop where I think that if those events hadn't unfolded, I would have probably been stuck going down a path I don't want to see myself going down.
Yeah. You sort of broke out of the autopilot life.
Yeah.
Or Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom calls it region beta,
Yeah.
where it's like this zone where it's bad, but it's not great. And it's not like super good, but it's not horrible. So it's sort
It
of,
was tolerable.
yeah, it's like this gray sort of middle tolerable land where you don't love your life, but it's not so bad where you're like, oh, I need to change it. And people get stuck there because if it was any worse and they actually hit rock bottom, that would force them to confront everything head on and go, okay, am I going to do something about this or is this it? And if their life's going good, obviously, you don't, you're fine. But when you're stuck in region beta, it's this weird paradox where your life would be better if it was worse. Because if your life got worse, it would force you to make a change in the right direction to actually improving your life. And it's really hard to get out of that loop when you're in it because you cannot even realize that you're in the loop.
Yeah. I felt like I was almost getting too comfortable with like isolating myself and too comfortable with just like I felt it I felt like it was like it's hard to explain. It was like this pattern. It was like very familiar almost. Like my life had gotten familiar to the point where I was comfortable with it. I was like kind of like generally okay with what I was doing on a daily basis, but I wasn't satisfied and I wasn't at the end of the day, I wasn't happy. I kind of part of me knew that that wasn't what I wanted for myself and that I was kind of just like putting myself down in a way. I guess like what is like your higher self kind of like I felt like my higher
Yeah.
self was talking to me and giving me advice and that kind of got me through through that period of my life. Is that I don't know if that's
It
like
was numb.
Yeah.
was sort of dull. Like
It was very dull.
numbing the pain does work.
I don't even have
It
too
just
many
numbs
memories
everything.
from that period of my life because it was just all the same. Like nothing very memorable happened. So it was just a period of like get up every day, make some coffee, smoke some weed, watch YouTube for 6 hours, go to bed. Like it wasn't there was nothing to it. There was nothing giving me any sort of satisfaction or giving me sort of any chance to even be proud of myself because I didn't feel like I was achieving anything.
There was nothing to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah.
No excitement on the horizon, so
It was dull and mundane.
you were just cruising on
Yeah.
autopilot the whole time, and then until you reach the point where you break the bong, I guess.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because I was on the bus to go see my ex. Like I was gonna go to her house and I was like gonna go smoke with her, but I was just like, no. like we're done here.
That's when
Like,
you broke the bong.
that's when I broke the bong. It's like I was on our way to her house. I was just like, no.
What do you think triggered that moment?
Um, I think that I was just like, what am I doing?
Like things had just stacked up over time?
Yeah, things were just stacking on top of each other, on top of each other. Just like I think being in like a new environment, being at this bus stop and being like, what am I actually solving? Because I had just gotten robbed and I was like, what am I actually solving by going to go to her house and smoking weed right now? What am I doing? What does this actually do for me? It gives me some temporary relief and I'll forget about it for the rest of the night. But tomorrow's gonna come and I'm still gonna be out of $12,000 and still have no way to pay my rent. And I just felt like if I was just gonna continue every single day hitting the bong, I wouldn't have enough mental clarity to sit with myself and be like, let's work on this. Let's find a plan so we can have this happen to me. I just felt like I wasn't planning. I was just kind of like acting very impulsively during that period of my life. And I think that like a life without a plan or like even like an idea of like as we mentioned earlier, like an anti-vision,
A direction.
just a direction. Like without direction, I was felt quite lost. I was feeling like kind of uncertain about what my role in life was and my role in the world was. Because I feel like we're all here for a reason. Like I think I guess that fundamentally like our as humans like our goal is to like spread love and caring and compassion. That's like kind of what we fuel off of is love and compassion.
You know, a lot of people have been through rough stuff, but maybe not such a pile of bad things all at once. What do you think
That's
that?
kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
It can happen in like a week period too. So
What do you think that experience taught you about yourself?
taught me that I'm resilient. That I don't like seeing myself in a place where I'm not happy. And if I'm not happy, I will do anything that I can physically do, mentally do to push myself out of that place into a better one. I don't like feeling stuck or feeling like there's no solution to a problem because I feel like even if you can not see any solution directly in front of you, it will come. You'll think of it tomorrow, the next day. You'll something will come to you. You'll maybe even have a discussion with a trusted friend and be like, "Hey, I was like having the problem with this XYZ and I wanted some feedback on it." And just like even having like a trusted friend that you can talk to and just express like kind of like vent off each other. I feel like that's quite helpful. That probably like I remember one of my close friends, my old buddy Sam, after I'd gotten kind of like out this, we just sat at his house for like maybe like 8 hours. He heard me like rant about the same things over and over again. And just like kind of he gave me that space and that time to just get whatever was bothering me off my cranium and kind of like it kind of I think that was quite helpful. I think it's having someone, especially in those times where you feel like there's no reason. Like I felt like I was quite suicidal back then when I like had just gotten robbed. I was kind of like not per se like in the way that I would actually want to commit suicide, just for the way I was having like depressing thoughts and kind of getting stuck in these feedback loops with my brain where it was just like negative thoughts. Um and once you get out of those feedback loops, it's really nice because you get to reflect on how far you've come and kind of just like Oh wow, wasn't that silly how yesterday I was thinking this way and like today I'm in the best mood ever? Like, I don't know. Kind of like it kind of puts it in perspective. I love like a big thing with me is I love waiting 24 hours to make a decision, especially if it's a big one. I'll always do that. I'll take 24 hours to just give myself the time to process it and be like, is this something I really want to do? And it could be a negative or a positive decision. Like if say my sister's like, hey, you want to go out to like the club this weekend? I'm like maybe, like probably not. But giving myself the 24 hours to be like, nah, I don't probably want to go to that. Put myself in a place where wouldn't be healthy for me. I think things like that. I love giving myself time. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's important to step back before you make those big decisions especially when you're in a dark space. It's really
Because your
easy.
judgment's clouded often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It clouds your vision and it's really easy to make the wrong choice and then end up in a worse position.
Yeah.
I think that's a great note to end on. It's just taking that step back to lean into the light in those small, tiny, seemingly insignificant ways.
Yeah.
And just every day, it just works towards something greater. And you might not know what that greater thing is yet, but you are working towards it.
100%. I completely agree.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me on. It was a wonderful time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.